Hey guys, it's Kevin Frenemy for S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Episode 18, The Frenemy of My Enemy. And this episode, again, another amazing episode. I felt this was definitely one of the best episodes of the season. Not the best episode of the season, but it was one of the best episodes by far. We had some really great scenes in this episode, definitely, that I really enjoyed. We had some, really great scenes between, Daisy and Cal. We saw them connecting a lot more. Who you guys will see why I call her Daisy, because I know nobody else calls her Daisy except me. And you guys will see that it's good that I call her Daisy. And let's get into this episode because it was a great episode, and this is just becoming a consistently great show, honestly. It really is. So, basically, in San Francisco, we see Fitz walks down the street and then makes a run for it in the S.H.I.E.L.D. And now, while last week's episode focused on Melinda and Cal and Daisy and Jiaying, this episode focuses more on the storylines that happened in the episode before that. So, while I love the last week's episode, it kind of slowed things down, but that's fine because we're only on episode 18, which is fine. It feels like the season's going by fast anyway, and that's because of how much I'm loving the show. So the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents behind him take up the pursuit, and Fitz runs into a parking garage and takes the stairs to the roof. Now, of course, Fitz has no idea really what to do at this point, because, he has that toolbox, and he doesn't really know what to do. So when the pursuing agents get there, Fitz has disappeared. One of them runs over, slams into the cloak Quinjet, and Deathlock take it up on Coulson's orders. Now, Fitz gives Coulson the toolbox, and Coulson says that they have to find Daisy. And he says that Hydra might have known where she is, and their new heads, Strucker and List, are obsessed with Enhance. So Fitz agrees, and Coulson warns him that they're making a deal with Grant, and Fitz isn't really sure if this is the best idea, but honestly, I think it is, because Grant doesn't really have any reason to not ally with them. I mean, Hydra, we haven't heard anything about, allying with Hydra. I don't think he's going to ally with Hydra. I think that now, I've said before, the person that Grant's going to ally with is the most powerful. I mean, Grant's a great character, but that's how Grant's always been. He's always been the powerful one. He wants to be the dominant one. He's either going to be in S.H.I.E.L.D. or he's going to be in Hydra. Now that S.H.I.E.L.D. is, becoming more powerful, he's going to become with S.H.I.E.L.D. So, at a Hydra base, List is examining the corpse of an enhanced who died during experimentation, and at Afterlife, Jiaying visits Cal in his cell, and he says that, and I really like this scene. One of my favorite parts of this episode, again, was the bonding between Cal and Daisy. It was kind of heartbreaking as well, because you can see that while Cal wants to make an effort, Daisy doesn't really seem to want it, and it's understandable. I mean, he abandoned her, although, she didn't know him all these years. It just feels kind of awkward to her. So, basically, Jiaying visits Cal in his cell, and he says that their dinner with Daisy was everything that he imagined. I mean, it really was a great scene last week where we saw that he told her everything that she needs to know, like her date of birth and things like that, how old she was. And he is aware that Daisy is still afraid of him, and it's his fault, and apologizes for putting his ex-wife in a bad position with her own people. And Cal says that he'll stay there and be quiet, and Jiaying says that she'll have Gordon to take Cal to pick up some of his belongings, and she tells him that he can't really interact with Daisy, and basically Luke is playing backgammon with a distracted Daisy, and she says that she's thinking about the dinner. She's surprised that dinner with Cal was nice, and knows that Jiaying is sending Cal away for good, and Daisy figures out that Cal will get upset, and someone will get hurt, and Luke suggests that she talk to her mother, try to figure out what to do there, and I think it's a good idea overall. So at the playground, Bobbi and Mack are sparring in the gym, and it's kind of a funny scene because Mack is like, Jemma, basically, Bobbi literally is beating the shit out of Mack. Was hilarious, and as they fight, Mack figures that Jemma is stalling, and Bobbi agrees. He wonders if he bothers her, and Bobbi says that they're too focused on Coulson and not enough on Hydra, which is true. That's really what the problem is, that Hydra is the main focus right now. Hydra's the enemy, not Coulson. Like, they're way too focused on fixing Coulson. And she admits that Lance might have been right, and Max says that the best way to proceed is to get at the truth. So he tells Bobbi that he's a flying fiber laser in from the carrier, and Jemma tells Melinda that they're bringing in the laser to cut open the toolbox, and she closed the door and tells Melinda that she switched, and I like that Jemma told Melinda this, because we knew that Jemma knew that Fitz took the wrong toolbox, and we knew this would end up terribly if, she didn't tell them. So I like that Jemma tells her that she tells Melinda she switched the real toolbox for her fake, and Fitz took it with her. And Melinda says that she'll handle it. She doesn't really know how to deal with this, and basically, Into Juana, Kara's on the phone with her mother, and she says that some men came calling, and Kara realized that they're with S.H.I.E.L.D., and as Kara leaves, Coulson and Deathlock arrive. Now, of course, you remembered who Kara was, and I was interested in seeing what they were going to do with her in this episode. And basically, Grant's getting into his car after buying a plant, and if you guys remember, I really like Grant and Kara together. Like, I really like them working together. I was hoping that maybe Kara would get to work with them, because I just really, overall, thought it was really cute what they were doing with Grant and Kara. So, Coulson calls on Kara's phone and tells him to come by, but Deathlock then waits with Kara, and basically at a restaurant, and asks if she has another hollow mask, and Grant comes in and figures that they need him, and Deathlock detects the weapons on him, and once Grant disarms, Deathlock basically gestures him to a back table where Coulson is waiting. And Coulson says that he's after Strucker and List, and Grant says that he only knew them by reputation. So unconvinced Grant, basically it's not exactly working. He's kind of unconvinced here, and Coulson figures that Grant has contacts. He explains that if Grant helps him, then he'll let him go free. Which, honestly, that's all that Grant wants. I mean, how long has he been in this prison? How long has he been on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s watch? Now he can finally go free. So, if Grant gets him inside, then he'll wipe Grant's memories and release him. And basically, Grant isn't interested, but Coulson figures that there's still some good in him if he came for Kara's sake, which is true. That is why he's doing. He's doing this to help out Kara. And he says that the Tahiti protocol will erase the bad and let Grant start over and give his word. And Grant says that he knows a guy and was wondering who he was talking about. So Melinda brings Bobbi to Jemma and tells the scientist that she explains if Fitz switched the real toolbox for a fake, and Bobbi says that she'll have to tell the board unless they can find Coulson, and Melinda wants Jemma to tap into Deathlock's feed, and Jemma says that she'll be glad to do it so they can exonerate Coulson and Fitz. So aboard the Quinjet, Lance and Fitz are packing, and Fitz is worried that they're making a deal with Grant, but Lance warns that their options are limited, because he doesn't really know if they can trust Grant, which is understandable, because they tried to trust Grant before and it didn't work. What'd he do? He left them for Hydra, so they're not really sure if they should trust him or not, and I like that Lance is saying, don't worry about it, but I'm pretty sure that Lance knows what's going on here. He just kind of is just calming Fitz down here. So at Afterlife, Jiaying tells Gordon that there are records of precognition that, like, Raina may have, and Daisy comes in, and Gordon leaves to get Cal. Once they're alone, Daisy says that Cal is in danger, but he's safer there. Jiaying says that they're better off with Cal elsewhere, but Daisy says that the people who make it her are her concern, and her mother says that as leaders, she sometimes does things that she'd rather not, and I really did like that line, 'cause, I mean, there are certain things that Daisy does have to do that she'd rather not do. One of them is bonding with her father. That's something that she definitely has to do. So, Deathlock meets Coulson at an oil refinery with Grant and Kara in his car. The cyborg confirms that the package is right where they said. Meanwhile, Grant figures that something is wrong because Melinda isn't there, and he knows that, obviously this is not exactly, what he expected. So he assures Kara that they have the upper hand because Coulson will get them what they want, and Kara notices the plan, and Grant assures her that when everything is over, they'll have a home and be together, and it's just a really sweet scene. I love seeing Grant care for Kara. After all of that love he said for Daisy, Kara made him realize that he wasn't in love with Daisy. He never even loved her. Who he loves is Kara. That's who he wants to be with, and I really hope that it works out for them because I love them together. I really love seeing Grant help Kara and not just himself, because most times when we see Grant, he's a big dick, he just cares about himself, and here he actually wants to help someone, and I love seeing that. I love seeing Grant use, what he does for good and not evil, and I really do love seeing that. So, basically, Karen notices the plan, and basically, Deathlock gets them out, and they open the trunk, and the brainwashed Sunil is inside, and assures him that he's happy to comply, and Daisy goes to see Cal, who says that he avoid her so he won't overdo things. He says that he's going home to Milwaukee, and Daisy says that she wants to go with him, and Cal's kind of surprised here, and I was thinking, okay, maybe Daisy's actually going to make an effort to connect with Cal. And basically, Daisy then meets with Jiaying, and I like what she says, that they can't just abandon Cal. She says that it's about her, and she empathizes with her father, because she spent her life searching for Jiaying. That's who she's cared about. Not so much Cal, but she's always wanted to look for her mother. And now she's found her, and Cal knows what he lost, but Daisy never did. And basically, Daisy even never knew that her mother was alive, and Daisy has to go with him and soften the blow so that Cal knows he hasn't lost his family forever, and I think that was really good what Daisy wanted to do. I definitely thought that was a really good thing that she wanted to do. Even though, what Daisy wanted to do, we knew that she was only doing this to, make Cal feel happy, and she didn't exactly want this. I still really enjoyed seeing it. It was really sad, but I really do like this storyline. So after Sunil arranges a meeting with Sunil, the team flies off to the rendezvous, and Fitz nervously fingers his gun, and Grant asks how he's been. After a moment, Fitz charges him, Coulson and Lance restrain him. The scientist insists that Sunil will double-cross him just like Grant did, and you can see that Fitz really doesn't trust Grant, and Coulson explains that Deathlock will go in with Sunil posing as his bodyguard. They'll monitor the meeting through Deathlock's cybernetic eye, and Sunil will convince Liz that he should have a bodyguard there. And Jemma is trying to track Deathlock when Melinda comes in. The scientist accuses Melinda of betraying Fitz, and Melinda reminds her that she's lucky that they didn't imprison her. She says that the only way to find out the truth was to open the toolbox, and Jemma says that Coulson was trying to protect Daisy, and Gordon teleports Daisy and Cal to Milwaukee and then departs, and Cal explains that his office is nearby, but he wants to show around and get a pastry before he gets his things, and they discover that the bakery's actually been replaced by a currency exchange, and as they look for someplace else to eat, Cal describes how Jiaying was training, and I really like finding this out. We get some really cool backstory here about Jiaying and Cal. Basically, Jiaying was trained to be a doctor when they met. He talks about the life he hoped to have with Daisy and should have had, and Daisy shows him that's okay. They want to open up a charter school for her so he could, pick her up and things like that. It really shows how much he loves her, and you can see that Daisy, you can see that Daisy sees that he is getting connected, and you want him to make that connection, but you know at the same time that Daisy doesn't really want this, and it's just kind of sad overall. So, Sunil and Deathlock meet List about aboard his private jet, and the others monitor the meeting, and List wonders how Sunil escaped when the other Hydra agents were wiped out, and Sunil claims that he thought List or Strucker were responsible. He then says that he was captured by the US government, and he escaped with Deathlock's help. He offers Deathlock to List, and Coulson realizes that Grant's actually playing his own game, and Grant grabs Fitz's gun. Kara puts a knife to Fitz's throat, and while Coulson and Lance draw their guns, and it's pretty simple. Grant is not playing his own game. He is playing a game for him and Kara. That's who he cares about. He cares about him and cares about Kara. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I like them together. I mean, are they doing something wrong? No, he's helping her. He's helping her get the life she wanted. That's why he's doing this. Is he doing some, is he crossing people that he shouldn't? Probably, but after all, Kara's been through, it honestly is worth it, what he's doing. And at least it's not just he's doing it for himself. At least he's not just, torturing people. He's doing what he can to help out Kara and give her that life that she wants. And Grant tells Coulson that the only way to get to Strucker is by offering Deathlock, and Fitz points out that Deathlock's targeting system is kicking in, and Kara refuses to let Fitz go, and Grant says that they'll put their weapons down, and Fitz sends a message over to Deathlock telling him to play along, and Coulson tells Grant not to pull anything like that again, or he'll kill him, and List's assistant defeats an incident and confirms that it's close, and List oars them into the air, and Grant figures that they're heading for Strucker, and Coulson gives the order to follow them. So Daisy and Cal look around for an ice cream place. A man in a hoodie bumps into Daisy, and Cal yells at them to apologize, and Daisy says it was her fault, and Cal apologizes, and Cal goes in to get the ice cream, and Daisy then calls Melinda and asks for Coulson. And as Melinda tracks the call, Daisy says that she'll soon be abandoning Cal, and S.H.I.E.L.D. needs to come get him before he goes out of control. And it's really sad overall, because it seemed like she was going to make an effort to connect with him, but you see that, nope, she's actually abandoning him, and Cal comes back out, completely unaware of the conversation, and Daisy tosses her phone in a nearby garbage can. Melinda and the others hear him talk, and Melinda tells Bobbi and Mack to take a team and go get them. So, as they continue walking, Cal wonders if he's boring her, and she assures him that he isn't, and Cal offers to take Daisy to her old office. And meanwhile, Lincoln secretly watches them. And in Afterlife, Gordon tells Jiaying that they haven't heard back from Lincoln yet, and the teleport tells her that Ethan disappeared on his camping trip, and Jiaying wonders who is responsible. So who is responsible for doing that? We don't know why Ethan disappeared. There has to be a reason why that happened. I mean, we don't really know what's going on there, so I think that's really interesting. So Liz's plane touches down, and Liz says they've picked up readings that indicate a teleport is involved. They intend to capture him, and listening in, Coulson and Fitz figure that's the same teleporter that took Daisy and Scott, and Grant realizes that it's about her. And basically, Cal takes Daisy to his old office, explains that he owns the building. He's only been back a few days over the years, takes out his satchel from a file cabinet. Cal explains that it's his grandfather's World War II medical field kit, and he used it to put Jiaying back together when she was all but killed. And Daisy realizes that he still loves Jiaying. He still has that love for her. And Cal starts talking about them getting back together. And his daughter stops him and says that they all have to move on now that she's grown up. And Cal agrees. And when Daisy says that she can visit, Cal wonders where she's going. And it's a really heartbreaking scene because before Daisy can respond, they hear someone outside. When they go out, Lincoln steps out, says that Jiaying sent him, and Cal wonders what's going on, refuses to let Lincoln patronize him, and basically, Sun-Ul, Deathlock, and the Hydra teams arrive downstairs and fan out to search the building for Gordon, and Cal realizes that Daisy was going to dump him. This was not a father-daughter bonding time, and it was a final goodbye, and you honestly feel really bad for Cal. I felt bad for Cal in the scene because they were really connecting very well, and it seemed like he was trying to make that connection with her, but she just doesn't want it because she doesn't really trust him. And when Lincoln tries to take Daisy away, Cal slams him in a file cabinet, knocking him out, and then Sun-Ul hears a noise, tells Deathlock to deal with it, and Daisy helps Lincoln up. Cal rants about the pain and rejection, and a Hydra trooper arrives, and Lincoln stuns him with an electrical blast, and that was insane. The Quinjet then lands on the roof. I mean, this is just crazy what's going on. So, more Hydra troopers arrived. Cal tells Lincoln to get Daisy out. As he approaches the troopers, Lincoln warns Daisy that she can't use her powers without bringing the building down. He tells Daisy to run while he helps Cal. Just as Cal knocks out one trooper and uses him as a shield. As Daisy runs, Deathlock spots her. Coulson sees her through Deathlock's eye. He tells Grant and Kara to keep Hydra off them while they find Daisy. And Lincoln tries to stun Deathlock, but discovers that his powers don't work on him. Deathlock says he's a friend of Daisy's, but Lincoln doesn't believe him, and Deathlock attacks him. Fitz loses Deathlock's feed and discovers that someone is trying to hack into it. Lance and the others recover Coulson so he can go find Daisy, and Grant goes with him while the trooper shoots Lance and wounds him before taking him out. Deathlock knocks Lincoln out and tosses him in the hallway in front of Coulson and Grant, and Jemma hacks Deathlock's feed, and she and Melinda see Coulson with Grant, and as Coulson and Grant go to find Daisy, Sun-Ul and two troopers arrive. He has his men fire a stun grenade, taking both men out, and Daisy goes to the next floor, finds Coulson and Grant fighting Hydra troopers. As she runs to Coulson, Gordon teleports in, grabs Daisy, teleports out. Cal arrives and grabs Gordon, teleporting away with him, and that seems crazy because he's just like, her name is Daisy! That's why I call her Daisy, guys. That's why, because that's her real name, okay? And basically, a trooper prepares to shoot Coulson, and Grant takes him out, and Kara and Lance arrive, and Grant warns that they're outmanned and outgunned, and asks Coulson what he's going to do now, and we really don't know what's going to happen now, because Hydra's still out there, and they haven't had to deal with Hydra in a while. Now that Hydra's back, how are they going to deal with all this? So, Mack and Bobbi arrive at the office building and find Hydra issue S.H.I.E.L.D. casings, and Coulson calls them from Cal's office and says that he doubled back after Hydra left. He says that he'll tell them about it at the playground and ask them to take him to their leader, and that's how the episode ends. And of course, what he doesn't know is that they're not working with him. Melinda is their leader, and he has no idea about this. So, we're definitely in for a reunion. I think that they're going to realize that Coulson is good at what he's doing, and we're going to have a huge reunion. Daisy seems to be back now. Kara's with them now. I like seeing Kara and Grant bond. I just hope that Grant doesn't try to, fall for Daisy, because I like seeing Grant help Kara. I think it's a good character arc for him, considering how much of a dick he usually is. And I think it's good that they're actually giving Grant his own storyline that doesn't involve him just killing someone. It actually involves him helping someone. I like seeing that. Let's talk about Cal. Honestly, I feel like Cal is the most vulnerable character. I really do feel bad for the guy. I mean, he just wants to make an effort to connect with his daughter, but she just doesn't really trust him, doesn't really want to connect with him. And I can totally understand that, but I just feel really bad for him. I mean, he's done whatever he can to connect with her, and she wants nothing to do with him. She doesn't want him in her life. She doesn't want Cal in her life right now, and it's really sad overall, because I do love their bonding. There were scenes of bonding, even though they were fake. It was adorable, I have to say. I loved it, and I think now, basically, Coulson's going to come back to S.H.I.E.L.D., which is going to be interesting to see what happens there. Because now we have the Hydra threat. Now we have Sun-Ul and Deathlock to deal with, and I like seeing that we have Hydra back. Because so far it's been, let's go after Coulson, when really the real threat is Hydra. And I like that they remembered Hydra really is the main threat here. Because who took S.H.I.E.L.D.? Not Coulson. Coulson's not the reason S.H.I.E.L.D., was demoted. Is because of Hydra. That's really what happened. So basically that's why Shield is gone, because of Hydra, and in order to get Hydra back, in order to get Shield back, they have to take down Hydra. Is Grant gonna keep his promise to Kara? I don't know. We'll see what happens there. What's gonna happen with the toolbox? First of all, they know nothing about the toolbox. Coulson and Grant, they know nothing. So how is Jemma and Melinda going to handle this? Because Coulson has no idea that Jemma and Melinda and Bobbi and Mack have formed their own team against him. But now those two have to work together somehow. And I don't really know if that's going to work exactly because they're so against each other. They don't really trust Coulson right now. So I don't really know exactly what's going to happen. And I'm very intrigued to see what actually ends up happening there. And also, let's talk about Jiaying. How is Jiaying going to react to what happened with Cal and Daisy? Is she going to be mad at Daisy? Because Daisy never said that she's going to abandon Cal. She never told Jiaying. She told Jiaying that she wants Cal in her life. And how is Jiaying going to react to what happened? We know that Cal still has feelings for Jiaying. I really do feel bad for Cal. And I really hope that Daisy does try to make an effort to connect with him. But overall, guys, that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this episode. Overall, guys, another great episode. They're just setting up so much. I love it. This was definitely more of a setup type of episode. I definitely loved it, though. And I'll see you guys in my next video, which we're going to review for tonight's episode of Arrow. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.